Marata. See, if 20 of us know this, Kenya will be too small. I'm telling you, 20, we will change this nation. Satan deceived all of us for 20 years from when we were children, convincing us that we were slaves, that we were helpless people at the mercy of either government or any other person. Jesus didn't come to die, to be buried, to come out of the grave for me to remain like this. The stakes are too high. The stakes are too high. I refuse to depend on a doctor. Thank God for his work. But Jesus didn't die, buried and rose from the dead for me to queue up in a hospital, waiting and begging for somebody else's intelligence to deliver me. I'm not dissuading anybody from seeing a doctor, but know that your verdict does not stop in the hospital. There's a power on your inside, functioning in glory. And this is why I told us, in case that operation is dormant in your life, there are forces for activating it. And in the morning, we looked at a few of those forces. I said number one is the blessing. It's possible that you have not yet come alive to these realities, so that dominion speaks through your life. There are institutions and forces that God has put in place to activate these dimensions. Number one is the blessing. And God blessed them. And God said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, have dominion. Genesis 1:28. When men are blessed, they are activated for dominion. Number two, I said, is the force of encounters. When a man encounters God, everything of God in him is activated. Exodus 3 from verse 1. And Moses kept the sheep of his father-in-law until he came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And as he went to the backside of the mountain, he saw a bush burning that was not consumed. After that encounter, Exodus 7 verse 1, behold, I have made you a God to Pharaoh. Samuel, in 1 Samuel 3 from verse 1 to 4, in those days the voice of God was cast, and there were no open vision, and the boy Samuel ministered before the Lord under Eli. And as the evil lamp were put out, he laid on the altar to sleep, and he heard a voice, Samuel. He thought it was Eli. After 3 times, the man discerned it was God, and said, when next he calls you, say, Lord, I hear you, your servant is listening, speak. And after that encounter, verse 20, from Daniel to Beersheba, the whole of Israel knew that God has raised Samuel as a prophet, and none of his words fell to the ground. Encounters activate what God has put in you for you to walk in dominion. Number 3, I said mysteries and secrets. When God opens the mysteries of the kingdom to you, they have a way of activating you. 1 Corinthians 2 from verse 6 to verse 8, it says, we speak wisdom among them that are perfect. And it said, yet not the wisdom of man. It said, but the wisdom of God. It said, we speak them in a mystery. And it said, this wisdom, the princes of this world don't know. If they did, they wouldn't have crucified the Lord of glory. But he told us the purpose of that mystery. He said, these mysteries were put in place for our glory. That means every time we access mysteries and secrets, there's an activation on our inside. This is why if you pray for it, if you fast for it, if whatever you do, access it. In the morning, I gave them 3 ways of accessing mysteries. I said, number 1 is through the fear of God. The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him. He shows them his covenant. Psalm 25 verse 14. Number 2, I said by prayer. Jeremiah 33 verse 3. Ask of me, I will answer. I will show you great and mighty things that you know not of. And then number 3, I said by fasting. Isaiah 58 verse 8. He said, when you fast, your light shall break forth like the morning. So mysteries activate God in our spirit for dominion. Jesus can be in your boat, but he'll be sleeping. So you need to wake him up or you drown. Master, master, careth not thou that we perish. This is why when you hear these dimensions we are talking about and you are not seeing it, it means they are there but they are dormant. So you need to deploy the things that activate them. And mysteries is one of them. Encounters is another. The blessing is another. Number 4, I said purity and holiness. When men live pure, a season comes where they enjoy visitation. Joseph refused to be defiled. Genesis 39 verse 9. I will not do this evil and sin against God. And suddenly the Bible said until the time that his word came, the word of the Lord tried him. So all of those temptations are trials to prepare you for glory. This is why James 1:2 said, count it all joy when you go through diverse temptations. He said the trying of your faith worketh patience, and patience perfects you until you want nothing. These are mysteries of activation for dominion. Purity. And I stopped there in the morning. Tonight I will talk about impartations. That's why you came for this conference, so that you receive impartations for dominion. And because of our time, I will just touch 2 things. Number 1, the mysteries of impartation, and then number 2, the channels of impartation, so that everybody in this meeting will receive an impartation. Now, what are the mysteries of impartation? Number 1, impartations releases spirits and spiritual realities. Impartation is not just talk. It's not just laying on of hands. All of that will be useless except as when genuine impartation happens, spirits are transferred and spiritual realities are communicated. Deuteronomy 34 verse 9. And Joshua had the spirit of wisdom because Moses laid his hands upon him. Acts 19 verse 5 and 6. Paul met some believers in Ephesus. Have you received the Holy Ghost since you believed? They said, we have not as much as heard of the Holy Ghost. All we know is the baptism of John. And he said, after Paul taught them, he laid his hands on them and they received the Holy Ghost. So impartation is a mystery for the transference of spirits and spiritual realities. 2 Timothy 1 verse 6. Discharge, give I thee, son Timothy, that you may fan to flame the gifts of God that were installed in you by the laying on of my hands. Every time impartations happen, the channels open for spirit transfer. The channels open for the transfer of spiritual realities. So when you come for an impartation service, you must be sensitive, because spirits will be moving. Spiritual realities will be moving. Those are the things you want to catch. The channels are not as important as the things communicated. So don't be distracted. Focus, because you will need sensitivity to katalambano. Spiritual things are caught. They are caught. Help the sister. They are caught. You don't pick them, you catch them. This is why you need to understand the mysteries that govern impartation, so that you don't come under a dense atmosphere and you walk out without carrying something. When we are doing impartation, we are transferring spirits. We are transferring spiritual realities. My life upgraded through impartations. If I tell you the men that have imparted me, you will be shocked. I know the place of study. I know the place of prayer. I know the place of purity. That's why I taught them before. But I also understand impartation. I've followed men for impartation. From Pastor E. Adeboye to Bishop David Oyedepo to Pastor Chris Oyakhilome. I've followed to Benny Hinn to Sadusonda Savaraj. I can call 1,000 names. We didn't come here by chance. People activated things on our inside. I chase impartations because I know it's a shortcut in the spirit. There are things that will take you 20 years to access. A man can just say be blessed and it falls on you. It will make your journey shorter. This is why I beg you in the morning, honor the fathers. You may be more eloquent, you may be more widely traveled, but they are custodians. It will make your journey short. Some of you don't have business being where you are, but you dishonor the carriers of graces. Talking about impartation here, it shifts man. I went to Abuja to start a work, and the Holy Ghost told me, go to Dr. Paul Enenche. The man laid hands on me. I felt like a baby who could not walk. I stood up from there. It was aggressive, the move. It may have taken me 3 years of prayer. It won't stop me from praying, but it gave me an advantage to cover space and time. With transfer spirits. Number 2, mystery of impartation. Impartations only happen where there is honor. Hebrews 7 verse 7. Without any contradiction, the less is blessed of the better. If there is no gradient, there will be no transfer. You know why most of us are where we are? We are too proud. We think we are all the same. In salvation, we are the same because the same price was paid. But in kingdom authority, we are not equal. Don't make any mistake about it. In this kingdom, there are men who can move you forward by talking. I'm not advocating for human worship. I'm just telling you how spiritual things work. And if you understand it, you'll be glad that you did. If there's no honor, either for God or for the vessels that carry those graces, if they like, they should hug you, pour oil on you, you will not be imparted. I keep telling people that if it's just about proximity, the family members of men of God will be the most anointed. It's not just proximity. Sometimes the sons of preachers never catch the grace because they see them as daddy, and that's all. And the grace that is on their father rests on somebody in another continent, and that person is manifesting that grace and changing his world. Sometimes in the corridor of impartation, we feel so limited. You are begging God to impart your son. God is imparting somebody else. Because it is honor that determines the direction of flow. This is why our generation is struggling. We can't receive our inheritance. One generation shall teach God to another generation. And by implication, one generation shall transfer God to another generation. But when you block it through dishonor, you become stunted. And when that generation goes, it may take you 40 years of laboring in the spirit to qualify for that grace. You can still access it, but it will take you time and waste your possibilities. Number 3, mystery of impartation. Impartations respond to hunger. Proverbs 18 verse 1. It says, through desire, a man having separated himself, intermeddled with all wisdom. I saw that translation in another verse, I saw that verse in another translation. I said, these people don't know what they are writing. If you don't have hunger, you may stand in front. The thing will jump on the person at the back. And you are wondering, I was there. It's not about being there. Can you catch? I'm telling you, these are laws of the spirit. These are laws.